Well, the haters gonna hate, 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 and the fakers gonna fake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna making luck, a Dominion podcast.
So, everybody, welcome to Making Luck, an infirmary podcast. I am Jake, sometimes known as Screw You, and joined with me as always is Adam, but not as always. Adam is having a little bit of a trouble.
Hi. My voice doesn't sound great because I'm not feeling well. But you know what? I don't want to go another week without some good quality Dominion content.
Yeah, and also
you guys
we're doing
deserve
this.
Better. Thanks. So, you know, I'm gonna try not to talk so much.
Yeah.
You're gonna listen to Jake a little more.
Yes.
But I'll chime in where I feel like I need to, and I'm going to try and cough as little as possible.
Oh, and don't worry, Adam and I have gone over the outline more than usual this time, and so you can be sure that I'm guiding it in a way to get both of our content across. So it's not...
And when he says stuff that's wrong, I'll still call him out, don't worry.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he will. He's actually made notes all over my outline. Red pen. Anyway, so...
I didn't use red pen. I used the Google Doc commenting function.
Yeah, in red. Which is a color that hurts your self-esteem. Proven.
That's true, actually. Oh god, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, so...
So I feel a lot better now than I did this morning, so this is great.
Yeah, now, so on the way here, I wanted to actually... talk about a little experience I had. So there's this new candy bar that came out. It's really good. We're not being sponsored. I just really think this candy bar is good. They're the new Oreo candy bars, and I can only seem to find them at gas stations. So I stopped at the gas station by my house and grabbed Adam one. And
I've never tried this before. This is you're sharing this experience with me.
Yeah, they're actually pretty good, and I can only find them at gas stations. Weirdly, the other thing is that they had these flavored milks that I wanted. They were all the same brand, and there were these two.
Was it True Moo?
No, they were Nesquik. There were these two separate flavors: strawberry banana and banana strawberry. I kid you not. These are two separate flavors in the same brand. And they referred to the ratio of strawberry to banana flavor in the milk. So I just want to say,
are you serious right now?
I'm not even kidding. I got banana strawberry. I might try strawberry banana later tonight on my way back home. So I just want to say, God bless America. Yeah.
Oh God, I'm laughing.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mind-bending experience. And Adam is now trying this delicious candy bar.
All right, you ready? Let's get this. Let's get the crunch here.
I hope you can taste it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
The cream flavor really is coming through, but you still have a nice cookie crunch from those little Oreo bits in there.
Yes.
The milk chocolate is very milky. I'm not really into dark chocolate, and this is very light chocolate.
It really is.
I'm a big fan.
Blends into the cream flavor, and so
Yeah, it really complements each other.
And you can look forward to a recap next time on Making Luck: The Sounds of Adam Chewing.
What? I want them to get the full experience.
Oh no, I am totally with you on that. So, by the way, if you are from Oreo or you're from Milka, the company who makes this candy bar, and you do want to sponsor us, that'd be great. We'll plug our contact information in the description of the video. We're also going to plug it because we are still taking submissions for our Dominion coaching series, which, as you may know, is already going strong. We've got a few episodes of it. It's been really popular and fun to record these videos as well. So make sure you send in your recorded Dominion games so we can get those underway.
Yeah, I've been kind of messing around with format and various things that make sense, both from a perspective of what's good to watch, but also from a perspective of what's easy for me to do and requires little prep. so I don't have to go through the video and timestamp everything I want to talk about, and I don't have to go through and edit the video, which is important because that means that if you send it to me, I'll be able to get it back to you in a timely manner.
Right.
So that's a really good thing. Also, like, you know, if you have something to say about the podcast, oh God, if you want to give us some feedback about the podcast, we really would like to hear that. You can go to adamhorton.com. This is my blog. There's some forums there. You can talk at us there. You can leave us a comment in the YouTube comments section if you're listening to us on YouTube. You can find us on the client or wherever else. We would just love to hear from you. Any feedback you give us is certainly welcome. We've got a couple of episode topic ideas recently that are pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be incorporating them soon. And just the more we hear from you, the more we can make this podcast about what you guys want, which is really good. Now I'm going to go die.
Yeah, so Adam's going to die. And then after that, we're actually going to talk today a little bit about Royal Blacksmith and Overlord. Those are the two cards that we're going to be focusing on this podcast. And a couple of reasons for that. One of them was somebody actually messaged me privately with a picture of Royal Blacksmith and asked, why would you ever buy this? She's new to Dominion. She's just getting into the game. And so I had a few points to give her, but I also thought that, you know, if there's at least even one person thinking, like, why would, what do I do with this card?
Why would you buy Village when you have Walled Village?
Right. If there's somebody out there thinking, you know, there may be more people, so we want to get into this card. And the other one is that Overlord is a card we've been meaning to talk about as well. And after this, we'll have covered all the ones that cost 8 debt. That's really the only rhyme or reason that we have for combining the two.
Yeah, they both cost 8 debt.
Or 8 equals D, as some might say.
That's right. 8 is the amount of debt that they cost.
Yeah.
God. Okay.
So, as always, before we get into that, we want to talk a little bit about the Kingdom that we've been playing this week. If you remember last week, we talked a little bit about what our favorite cards are, how we have the most fun playing Dominion. So, this time, we are going to talk about a Kingdom that we incorporated those cards into. Alright, so we had a Kingdom.
Yeah.
And we're going to try something a little different this time when we're reading off the cards for the Kingdom.
No, we're not.
I'm going to read a card, and then Adam's going to read a card, and then I'm going to read one. We're going to alternate.
No, we're not.
And we're... Okay, so I'm just going to read the cards. In no particular order, except for cost order, we have the cards in that Kingdom: Steward, Bishop, Jake of all trades, Noble Brigand, Rats, Sea Hag, Festival, Vampire, Farmland, Hunting Grounds, and our event was Ritual. Once more for our audio-only listeners, we had Steward, Bishop, Jake of all trades, Noble Brigand, Rats, Sea Hag, Festival, Vampire, Farmland, Hunting Grounds, and the event Ritual. This was clearly a Rat's Big Money board.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, so...
It had shelters and colonies, too.
Ah,
Yeah, so...
that kills Big Money.
Yeah.
No, yeah, so, like, we had talked about... I mean, this had a lot of cards we really like. Cards we were pretty familiar with as well, probably, because they were our favorite ones. For both of us, Jake of all trades was pretty high up on the list. And we both agreed to open with it.
Yeah. I said you want to get a Steward. You said you want to get a Silver with it.
Yeah, because I wanted to hit Vampire really quickly and have my Jake and not be able to collide stuff with... Not have to collide stuff with it.
Have your Jake and eat it, too?
Yeah, what? Alright, that was alright. I normally don't like those, but that one was okay.
That was good.
Yeah, so I,
Whoa. I just, spilled water on the desk, and it's in the shape of a number 4. I don't know if you can see that.
Man, that's gotta be significant.
It's a sign
something.
that you need
it's
to
not
get...
like he's just looking for... Anyway, so, so yeah.
It's Jesus' face in the water. No.
Yeah, so Jake of all trades also costs 4, and that's why you open with it. And
Yeah.
you also open with with a steward under Adam's direction, and I'm still not sold between the steward and the silver. I tried both, and the steward seemed better.
Yeah.
But
good talk.
No, okay, so to be fair, hitting vampire early wasn't terrible either. I mean, the vampire helps you thin with bat, the vampire helps you get a bunch of festivals, you want those.
You know what else helps you thin?
Just shut up. Yeah. So, they're both good. Steward Jack and Steward Bishop, in my mind, are very similar openings.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I still think that they're about the same in power.
You'd rather
level.
open Bishop?
I said Steward Jack or Steward Silver?
Okay, you said Steward Bishop.
Oh, Steward Bishop? Oh, I'm sorry. No. God, no. Forgive me. It's been a long night.
It has been, yeah.
Yeah, and so I look at those as kind of similar in power level. The goal for the deck was actually interesting. It wasn't as cut and dry as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, the payload was interesting.
Yeah, there's point chips here to be gained in abundance between Bishop, Farmland, and Ritual, and possibly Rats if you go that route. By the way, Rats wasn't actually terrible there. It was just slightly worse than the other things you could be doing.
Yeah.
Which means it's a lot better than it is on those boards.
Yeah.
So, like, whether you build for festivals and big hunting grounds draws to play your platinums and get colonies, or you play your bishops or buy rituals to trash farmlands and rats and hunting grounds and get a bunch of point chips, or you do something in between, I think all three of those are kind of viable routes to victory. Especially the one that does a little bit of both. Like, if you're going to be maximizing your score on point chips, you're banking on ending in a 3-pile. Probably with the hunting grounds estates.
Well, I don't know. I feel like VP tokens play a role in the best deck here, no matter what. Like, having the points is good no matter what you want.
It's good for endgame positioning, definitely, because the 3-pile is something that is always kind of a threat here. Because the festivals are going to run. You both want a lot of those. And...
hunting grounds are going to get low, and then, you can pile estates and stuff. I don't know, the VP tokens are just always good to have. I think Bishop belongs in the deck, and tactical rituals are pretty good.
And having, for the record, having the VP tokens means that you can play with that 3-pile more aggressively. Because then if your opponent, you can leave the piles lower than your opponent can afford to, which means that you have more options.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think that Platinum is a much better card than Silver here. I think at some point you want to stop. Well, obviously.
How insightful, Adam.
But like, Silver's easy to get with Jack, but I think at some point you want to trash the Jack and, use Platinum as your payload and just eat the Silvers with Bishop, or maybe even feed them to your Bat or something if you want to do that.
Yeah, so I actually, for mid-game deck control, what the deck looks like in the middle of the game, for your draw, I tried 2 separate routes. And Adam thinks one is much better than the other. I'm actually still going to say they felt about the same. And one of them was playing a bunch of festivals and hunting grounds. That seems
real good.
It is pretty good. The other one was actually playing a bunch of festivals and having mid-turn bishops and possibly rats, and then using Jack to draw back up to 6. Okay, if you win the festival split by a decent amount, it's actually pretty good. Especially because you're trashing extra silvers with Bishop, you are possibly even rats, you are going to be... You've got the Necropolis in your deck already, the Jake of all trades is pretty decent payload, as well as being deck control. I think it's better than maybe Adam was giving it credit for.
I think it's total garbage. Jake won a game with this, but that's because I just decided not to get points and then just let him 3-pile. Like... He can win.
Okay, for the record, the 3-pile wasn't super close, though. Like,
if I had gotten a Duchy instead of a Vampire, you wouldn't have had that option.
But you
that
didn't
deck
see that.
Green.
You didn't see it coming.
Yeah, that's my fault. That doesn't mean your deck was good. That means I'm an idiot.
Well, both could be true.
You're not wrong. But
yeah.
like that deck doesn't green at all. Like, that can't handle any green cards. So I just get like 2 or 3 colonies, and then you can't win.
But the thing is that deck could pivot too. Like
it is really bad at pivoting.
I don't know. It's got such a point lead from the point chips, And plus, like, the thing is, like, it might be able to rush the game end before you can get 2 or 3 colonies.
If you're doing that, you're gonna win no matter what. Like, if I don't think that deck's good at all.
So, the deck performed well once, but as Adam had pointed out, and he also got, to his credit, he got pretty bad draws that game, if I remember. Like, you had a few things happen to you that were really unfortunate.
I don't remember. Maybe
And
sure.
I also had this...
I had a 5-2 that game, yeah.
Right, and I had the amazing draw where I collided Steward, Jack, Necropolis.
Oh, man.
So I get to play the Necropolis and then trash 2 with Steward and then draw back
so
up to
good.
6 with Jack.
And draw to 6.
Yeah, whatever. That's part of why I was doing so well. I was drawing an extra card.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so... and Adam actually got that draw once at one point in the game, too.
Yeah,
and
then he resigned.
It honestly didn't matter because that put him so far ahead, I was just screwed. So, like, actually, if your opponent gets that draw...
Just resign, yeah.
You might, just to save... No, I'm kidding. I mean, you should probably try to play out games that you don't think you can win.
Resigning. Best strat 2018.
Yeah. It keeps your opponent from really winning. But,
That's right.
yeah, so... yeah. I don't know really what else to say about this except whatever strategy you pick, you have to play it really well.
Sure.
And, like... One thing to take from our games is that we saw a variety of strats have varying success. So, picking the best combination of cards here and the best cards to buy and go for wasn't necessarily the deciding factor. In fact, I think player skill actually ended up being more of a determining factor.
Yeah.
Like, who made better
The hex deck.
mid-game... Yeah, right. The hex deck was annoying. Who made better mid-game decisions, I think, played a bigger role in who committed to a better strategy at the beginning of the game.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds about right.
So yeah, that's about all I have to say about this kingdom. Let me know in the comments if you have a different read on this board, if you think that one of these strategies is clearly dominant or
Like
the other.
the one I said was, yeah.
Let me know if you can see any crazy farmland tricks that maybe we missed. Farmlanding rats into farmland, always a strong strat.
Oh, yeah. Feels so good.
Yeah. So, yeah.
A couple more things I wanted to mention. We had a couple people post on the forums talk about their favorite cards.
Yeah.
And I want to just give a shout out. So, Wandering Winder, he said a lot of things that we kind of indirectly addressed, but one thing he said was, ever since second editions, there aren't really duds anymore, and so with 10 Kingdom cards, you're frequently available, like, you can just have everything. There's, like, a village, and draw, and plus buy, and trashing, and attack. Like, everything's there. And so, he longed for the days where you were more restricted in what you can do. And I actually think that's, that's a different way of looking at it.
That's a valid thing to want from the game, too.
Yeah, that's a good principle of kingdom design, too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's no village, what are we going to do about it? Or,
yeah.
The only draw is this, what are you going to do about it?
And I don't agree with that sentiment 100% of the time, but I'd say about half the time I could get on with that, like, about what he's saying. Like, I kind of understand where he's coming from.
I'm of the mind that, like, you need big money in Dominion because, like, otherwise all the shenanigans you pull, they aren't special.
They get boring, yeah. The game gets really stale if big money's never viable.
I wouldn't say boring or stale, but, like, it's just more fun to play out those big decks for me than if I could do it all the time, because it feels special.
Well, it's also, like, I don't really... I mean, there are some deck builders out there that, like, don't really have... I mean, they have the equivalent of big money, but, like, the quote-unquote engine is always available.
Wait, what? The what?
Put it in quotes. The
This
thing...
guy.
The deck that has a really high payload and chains a bunch of kingdom cards together is always available. And, like, as a result, it's a foregone conclusion that somebody's going to build that deck, and both players are probably going to build that deck. And, like Adam said, the shenanigans aren't really special, and so the aspect of evaluating whether or not something can beat big money, and then finding out if you're right or wrong, that's kind of what Dominion's about for me. So, yeah.
Also, Trivial Knot said that he likes wonky control cards, And a couple of examples were like Tragic Hero or Encampment, where you have to jump through hoops in order to just play your turns, you know?
Okay, so I read that post, and it made me lament not mentioning Tragic Hero, because Tragic Hero is actually and I forgot about it when we were talking about it, is actually hands down my favorite card in Nocturne.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it really is. The more I play with it, the more I really appreciate its design.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You get to upgrade it into a treasure?
Yeah. Well, like, sometimes it is an upgrade. Like, there are times...
You can draw the treasure that turn, then yes.
Yeah,
really good.
The aspects of overdraw it enable, like, it's kind of pretty cool as a card.
I love the interaction with Rogue.
Yeah, so you can
kill him off, you bring him back just to kill him again.
You can get infinite treasures that way.
Yeah. That's really OP.
Yeah, and then there's their bishop out, then it's infinite VP.
Yes. Yes, we did it, guys. We did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's fun because like it's this aspect that you're constantly dealing with, and it feels unique. So when you have these resources that are bad, but you have to make them good, or you have a unique way that you're playing your turn, it helps the game to feel fresh.
Yeah.
And that's something I really appreciate about Dominion.
Yeah. I think you can kind of get the same experience he's talking about from, like, something that's clearly dominant but doesn't have a really easy way to enable it, even if the, like, highway or bridge troll megaturn decks.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah, or like highway bridge troll megaturn decks with like the only copper thinning is develop or something. Like those are kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks to everyone who gave their thoughts and put up with the lack of strategic content last week. Here we are making strategic content, and you're just gonna have to listen to me cough for the rest of this episode as you've listened to me.
Yeah,
so
you're also
far.
gonna have to listen to my voice more than usual, so I am sorry.
I'm sorry
in
too.
advance.
So what's your favorite type of lunch meat, Jake?
Royal black meat.
Yeah, I was gonna go with Overlord meat.
Overlord meat? Yeah, meat from real overlords.
Yeah, I mean they probably eat the good stuff, right?
Yeah, so they're probably pretty good. Kind of like veal.
Veal's pretty good, although the last veal I had was a little greasy the way they prepared it. So
where'd you go?
God, what was that place called? Prima Vista.
Oh, I went there. I
sounds
actually
kinda
had the veal there for my sister's graduation,
Yeah.
which was recently. So
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
I got the salt and boca.
I don't remember. I got the one that they said was the best one.
Well, our server recommended the salt and boca. It was like super flat and breaded and pan fried.
It's not the one I got. Yeah.
Okay. I would just recommend the pasta. Every pasta I've had there has been really good.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic restaurant.
And apparently they have this lemon slushy dessert with booze in it that's really good. And
That
that's
sounds
what
good.
my wife told me. This was before she was pregnant, okay?
Oh, by the way, we're not being sponsored by them either. But if you're listening,
Yeah, our contact information
yeah,
on
so
in the video.
you want to keep that gravy train rolling.
Actually, the salt and boca didn't have any gravy on it. It's an Italian restaurant, so like they would just call it a sauce, or maybe like a bolognese or a ragu.
I was always wondering what the difference between those things was.
I think a ragu usually has
Meat.
some meat in it, but a bolognese usually does too. A bolognese is a specific type of like tomato-y meat sauce,
So
and a
it's not like
ragu
the
is
bologna
just
sauce.
no.
Huh.
Sorry. I'm not gonna die. Anyway, I just
Well,
thought
you are
I'd
gonna
add here.
die, but not now.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. You didn't win the raffle for my immortality.
Balls. Oh, but speaking of the raffle, were we gonna raffle off the other one of these Oreo chocolate candy bars?
This is true. Yeah, I know. If you win our raffle this time, you may win an Oreo chocolate candy bar.
Yeah, but you
of
better
your
get your
choice.
raffle in soon because this is right in front of me, and once I finish this, I can't be held responsible for what happens to this before it gets to you.
This is very true, so enter quick. I trust you all know my cell phone number. I'll be taking them via text. So, without further ado...
Actually, I want a little bit more further ado. I really wanted popcorn tonight, and my wife told me that I wasn't allowed to have popcorn tonight because of my throat. Is that fair?
Well, you're having a kid, so you say goodbye to your freedom to do anything you want.
Okay,
ever.
we had a talk about that. And
Oh.
I get my freedom back when she's done breastfeeding the child.
Like the first time, or just...
When we've weaned off of breastfeeding.
Okay, so that's at the kid's discretion, really.
Right. I get my freedom
All right.
back.
Okay, so maybe that's when he turns 18 if you're one of those really weird couples that like keeps... I mean, no judgment. Like, I completely understand.
We'll see what happens.
It's not weird. It's just different, and it's a lifestyle that I don't understand.
I feel like, she's putting in a lot more physically than I am, so I'm trying to make up, do everything I can.
No. I mean, she's hosting a child inside of her body and getting sick and giving up alcohol, and you're not eating popcorn. This is a really big deal for both of you, I can tell.
Right. That's right.
So, are we done with the further ado?
For now, yeah.
Okay, so today the first card we're going to talk about is Royal Blacksmith. Royal Blacksmith comes to us from the Empire's expansion, and it costs 8 debt. No money, just costs 8 debt. It's a terminal action that says plus 5 cards, discard, reveal your hand, discard all of the coppers in it. So, it's a terminal draw card, but it's also one that costs debt. And we have gone into this before when we talked about City Quarter. And the cost of a card that costs debt like this is not static. So, like, somebody... a lot of the comparison between Royal Blacksmith and cards, like, when she said to me, why would you buy this? One of the cards that came up was Smithy. Well, like, Smithy only costs 4, and this costs 8.
Smithy is OP.
But 4 coins and 8 debt aren't necessarily the same thing. One isn't strictly more than the other. 4 coins is a static cost, and 8 debt is a dynamic cost.
Yeah, the cost in debt is not only a function of whatever how you have that turn, but also a function of the deck you have with that card in it, so that the card can help you pay off the debt, right?
Exactly. So you look at something like a Royal Blacksmith, and assuming it's good for your debt, you take it on, and then as soon as you draw it, if it makes your turn better, if it makes it maybe like $8 better, it's almost like it was free, right? Because it helps you pay off the debt, and then it's in your deck. So the things that help you with picking up these debt cards are picking them up near the bottom of a shuffle, as we are wont to do with those cards that we want to see very soon. You pick them up when you have a chance to draw them. Anything that helps you top deck them, like cycling with Scheme or buying them when you have a Royal Seal out or a Tracker, things like that are really good for these debt cards as well.
Yeah, you just want to maximize the chance that card's effect can help you pay off the debt that it incurs, so it kind of minimizes the impact of that debt.
Yeah, and we've already kind of gotten into this, but aside from debt cards, let's just talk about Royal Blacksmith in particular. And let's start out by talking about something completely different, like Smithy. So Smithy is pretty good, right?
It's OP.
Smithy draws 3 cards. You love to draw
so many cards.
You know what's even better?
55 cards.
Than drawing 3 cards? Those Oreo candy bars. Seriously, why can I only get these at the gas stations? This podcast brought to you by Adam's Jaws and also Oreo. So drawing 5 cards is pretty good too. Discarding a bunch of them is kind of lame though. So let's just compare it to Smithy.
You probably shouldn't open with Royal Blacksmith, right?
Oh my god, I just realized how terrible that is. If you open with a Royal Blacksmith, you don't have any money. And you can't ever pay it off.
No, it's no bueno.
Well, I guess you could just not play it.
No lie. There's a gentleman who actually friended me on Facebook today, who, very first time he came to one of my tournaments, he opened with City Quarter, turn 1.
Nice!
And this gentleman has come such a long way.
Nice.
He bought a whole bunch of Dominion that day. And he came back for actually the most recent tournament, and he made the finals of that tournament.
That is awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Nice.
Shout outs. I don't know. I don't really have permission to share your name, so I'll just share the first letter, D. Kind of like
Dominion.
D for debt.
Or
D
debt.
for Dominion. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Good on you, guy.
Don't open City Quarter either.
Right. Don't open City Quarter
or Royal Blacksmith.
We're gonna get to the last one though. But so Royal Blacksmith is really good because it increases your hand by a lot, and that's what Terminal Draw is for. It's to play a card, and then when you're done resolving it, you have more cards in your hand, and you can do more stuff. That implies, of course, that you have a village effect so that you can keep playing actions, but we compare it to Smithy again, and Royal Blacksmith doesn't look like it's that much more than Smithy, right? It's only 2 more cards, but it's actually more than that. It's actually kind of twice what Smithy draws you, and just in terms of raw hand size increase. It's kind of like you had played 2 Smithies, because
3 plus 3 is 6, which is not 5, sir.
yeah, no, but the Smithies drawing 6 cards took 2 cards out of your hand, and the Royal Blacksmith drawing 5 only took 1. Yes, so it's kind of like you had played 2 Smithies, just in terms of raw hand size increase, and that's only a comparison I make just to give you a scope of actually how many cards this is drawing for a single card.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that I think that comparison is worthless,
But he
like,
is thinking it.
I am. I mean, I just don't see how that applies to a game of Dominion. Like, we talked about this a little bit in the Hunting Grounds episode, where, like, one card that draws you 4, you don't necessarily want to have less copies of it. You would rather, like, have maybe just as many or slightly less copies and then overdraw a bit, right?
So, certainly there are problems with saying Royal Blacksmith is like 2 Smithies. I say it only just to give you a sense of scale for how many cards it actually is to have a single card that's drawing you 5. And how much more that actually is than Smithy.
You do you, man.
And so, of course, at the end of that, you don't want to be discarding them. That sucks, right? So, that would tell you that you don't want to play Royal Blacksmith if you have a bunch of coppers in your deck.
I mean, it's certainly less good because, you would rather keep coppers in your hand than discard them. But really, like, I'm not going to tell you that the only time that Royal Blacksmith is ever good is when there's copper trashing, because I don't think that's true.
Sure.
I think
It's very, very rare that it would be good without copper trashing. I think we can at least agree on that.
Sure, and I think that has more to do with the fact that these types of decks that need to line up a village with a terminal draw card, like Royal Blacksmith, are going to be less good when there's no thinning because it's harder to line those cards up, and less to do with the fact that Royal Blacksmith makes you discard those cards. Right?
Yeah.
If there was some other way to have a reliable deck, then I would care much less about the fact that I have to discard these coppers, because really I'm just drawing past those coppers. Like I'm cycling towards my better cards. Like if I play a Smithy and I draw 3 good cards, or I play a Royal Blacksmith and I draw 3 good cards and 2 coppers, like I don't really care. Like they've done the same thing for me, right? Except that the Smithy didn't get me past those 2 coppers. So I mean,
Okay, that's fair enough.
You read the card and you say, I don't want coppers, and you're not wrong. But really that's because coppers are bad, and
right.
not because Royal Blacksmith doesn't let you keep the coppers.
Yeah, so the other interesting thing about Royal Blacksmith, and we keep coming back to Smithy here because
it's OP.
Well, and the best way to really talk about Royal Blacksmith is where it diverges from Smithy, right? Because it's easy to just say this draws cards, Smithy draws cards, they're the same thing.
GG, the podcast.
Right, but they're not. They're really not. They're actually completely different because the other one, it's a death card, so you gain it under different circumstances, but also Smithy sometimes has a place in a big money deck. Not all the time, but sometimes you'll pick up a Smithy or some kind of terminal draw if you're just playing big money with treasures.
Sure, yeah.
Obviously, Royal Blacksmith doesn't really track there because that deck's not really trashing its coppers.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to play big money in Royal Blacksmith, copper is no longer a bad card in that deck. I mean, it's not
right.
It's not great, but it's certainly not as bad as it is in any other deck you're planning to build. So, like, the drawback is hurting you quite a bit. And also that 8 deck cost resembles 8 a lot more because you're shuffling less often, right?
Exactly.
You're not able to capitalize on the new shiny deck that you have.
Right. When he says it resembles 8, he means it's kind of a little bit more like you paid 8 money for it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so the other thing is that that also kind of relegates Royal Blacksmith to a different phase of the game in which you'd pick it up. So, Smithy is a deck control card. It helps you draw cards, which indirectly helps you play cards, and that's the role that it plays. So you pick up Smithy fairly early. Royal Blacksmith, of course, is also a deck control card by that same definition, except that you get it much later in the game. So whereas most terminal draw are early game deck control to help you build and get control of your deck, Royal Blacksmith is kind of a card that just helps you leverage the control you kind of already have over that deck.
Yeah, so I think the comparison that we just got done making with big money, right? Royal Blacksmith is less good in a big money deck.
Right.
And so since every deck starts out as a big money deck, like
Exactly.
we talked about a few weeks ago, it stands to reason that Royal Blacksmith is less good in the early game.
So most of the time, if your deck in most phases of the game is going to resemble anything what it did when you started the game, you're probably not picking up a Royal Blacksmith, right? I mean, it's rare that you would.
Yeah, I mean, when those coppers are a large source of your economy,
Yep.
discarding them is bad.
Yeah, so...
Unless you have Counting House.
There we go. Counting House Royal Blacksmith.
Synergy.
You heard it here first. The World Dominion 2019.
Now that may sound good, but I'm gonna drop a little truth bomb on you right here. You ready?
Yeah.
The thing you need to make that combo really come alive?
Cheating?
No.
Okay.
Apothecary.
There we go.
So you gotta draw those coppers first.
Yeah, and then Coppersmith to double your payload. It's kind of like a fortune at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, we're kind of trolling at this point because there's not actually a whole lot else to say about Royal Blacksmith. I don't think.
Wait, we were trolling?
I was.
Oh,
Were you
okay.
not? Oh yeah. No. So that's all we could really think to say about the card. If you have any other suggestions or things that you can think of that are interesting aspects of Royal Blacksmith, please let us know, and we'll be happy to give them a shout out next podcast. But the real meat of this episode comes down to Overlord, I'd say, right?
It's certainly meatier than the old Royal Beastmith.
Yeah, the old Royal Beastmith doesn't really hold a candle in terms of just sheer things we could talk about.
It doesn't even hold a candlestick maker.
Yeah.
Not even one that draws a card.
Not even one with the pathfinding token. So, Overlord is another card. It costs 8 debt from the Empire's expansion. And its text is a little different. It says, play this as if it were an action card in the supply, costing up to 5. This is that card until it leaves play. It's a card that Band of Misfits always wanted to be when it grew up. And I will just say that we've actually addressed before on the podcast the importance of knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it at every phase of the game, and especially every buy in the game. That was kind of a couple of episodes, the crux of our point. I will say that this is never more true than with Overlord. The wrong way to play this card is to just buy it because why not, and then you figure it out what to do when you draw it. That's how you end up playing 4 cartographers in a row for no f***ing reason. That's not what we want for you. I did that in a game. Not only did I lose, but my turns took forever. And because I had a bunch of Overlords and I was playing them as a cartographer, because I didn't look at the kingdom, I just bought Overlords.
This is a good card, and I don't have to decide what my deck's going to do until much later.
There we go.
Because I'm not going to have any money to spend, because I'll be in debt the whole game. But
Yeah.
you better believe that I'll be able to skip those estates.
There we go.
Nice.
And everything else for that matter. So instead, the right way to play Overlord is that when you buy it, your thought process should include a card that you intend to play it as, right? Or at least you have a few cards that you want to play Overlord as, or what you want to draw the Overlord with, maybe, comes into play. Or what's going on in your shuffle. You compare buying Overlord to just buying the cards that you could play Overlord as. You never just want to wing it.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that applies to Band of Misfits.
Sure.
And, there's a number of things that we're going to say about Overlord that apply to Band of Misfits.
I actually just want to point out, comparing it to Band of Misfits, though, that I started doing that, and then I said, you know what, this is stupid because they're completely different cards and they do completely different things. But go on.
Well, I mean, they do completely different things, but these things were telling you about what you should be thinking, like, why are you getting this Overlord? What are the things you're looking for? Those things apply to Bandit Misfits. I mean, some of the things we're going to talk about with Overlord don't apply. This particular one does.
Absolutely. And I didn't mean to imply Adam wasn't going to make a salient point here. I was just saying that, like...
He's just lobbing one right over the plate because I'm sick.
Yeah, because he can't...
And I got that one into the shallow outfield. Baseball. Sports ball. Anyway,
yeah.
Please continue.
Do they have that outside of America?
Yeah.
I know that
it's big in Central America.
Then... Oh, cool.
Yeah.
In Japan, too.
In Japan, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let us know if you're Japanese.
Yeah. That would be pretty rad.
Yeah, anyway, so... why are Band of Misfits and Overlord such different cards? Well, for one thing...
Overlord can be fivers.
Yeah, no, like, why is that such a big deal, though? Why does it make them function completely differently from each other?
Fivers are amazing.
Well, fivers are amazing. That's when cards start to get really good in Dominion, and for the most part. And the other thing is, of course, we have that price point weirdness, right? Where, you buy it at a certain point and it's not a static cost.
Right.
And the other big thing is that you can pretty much always open with it.
Yeah, so like opening with Band of Misfits is potentially good, but you have to get a 5/2. You can open with an Overlord, and
at any point, yeah.
Yeah, but normally it's a good idea to do it on turn 2, right? You buy a thing on turn 1, and then you get your Overlord on turn 2, and you take a bunch of debt with you into the second shuffle, but you have this Overlord.
Yeah, which is any card that you wanted it to be.
Right. So, in fact, barring all of this other stuff we're talking about where maybe Overlord isn't good in general, pretty much the majority of the times where you don't want to open Overlord is if you have a 5/2 or a 2/5.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's better for you to just buy that fiver that you want. Maybe not even always, though, because like if it's some fiver that trashes or some fiver that you want maybe early on, like a trading post, I think is a great example.
Sure.
I would rather have an Overlord in my deck than a trading post. It's going to be a trading post the whole game.
Yeah, we've gone into before how mostly when we've talked about kingdoms that have had Overlord in it, but Overlord is fantastic when you have these cards that have a contextual role based on what the phase of the game is. Adam talked about Chapel. In Trading Post, we can lump Spice Merchant in there as well. Any card these really come down to deck control cards, specifically ones that trash cards. Anything that has a very strong role in the beginning and gets weaker every single time you play it. Overlord can be something else when it's done, unlike if you had an actual Chapel.
Sure. I think it's notable because when you open with an Overlord, what you're not looking for is some card that maybe just makes you money or something. Right? If you take on extra debt for this flexibility, and all that flexibility is getting you is a little bit more money, then you haven't really made the best use of your turn 2. And this is a significant investment to buy your Overlord turn 2 and then have all that debt going in. So what you're really looking for is something that trashes cards. I think that's a big one.
That's what you're looking for in the beginning when you're thinking about opening with an Overlord, is trashing cards.
Right, trashing cards, junking your opponent, which is...
Correct, yeah, definitely.
Basically the same idea.
Yeah.
And then also gainers, if applicable. I mean, there's not too many gainers
like a
that cost 5.
Or what have you.
But like, the ones that do cost 5, they're pretty good with Overlord, and I think it's not a coincidence that these things we're naming are the things that are important to you in the beginning of the game. Right?
Yeah.
Thinning and junking is your top priority, and then gaining is your next priority.
Yes.
And then only after that do you think about like draw and payload and all those other things.
Yeah, and so I think it follows pretty logically that Overlord is really good in the beginning of the game. Better than it is at any other phase of the game.
If you have all that stuff available to you, yes, it's super amazing. If you
Exactly.
don't get Overlord on turn 2, you're just going to be way behind the guy who does.
Right. So this is assuming that those tools are in the kingdom, of course. And that comes back to the thought that when you buy Overlord, you don't just buy it because you can. You buy it because you have cards in mind you want to play it as the next time you draw it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the other place that Overlord excels is when you have context-dependent cards. Cards where are cards that are like really good if you draw them under certain circumstances or with something. Like Menagerie is in the kingdom, and you have something else you could play Overlord if it doesn't work out. But if it does work out, draw 3 cards plus 1 action is not something you pass up, really.
Yeah, and I think Shepherd and Crossroads are 2 other good examples of that, yeah.
Yeah, Shepherd and Crossroads, or like if your opponent just bought an Expedition and you have an Overlord and you have the opportunity to play like an Urchin on them, that's pretty funny.
It feels pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, so, obviously we can keep going. We can say like Legionaries and things like that, but you get the idea.
Sure, but let's make a distinction, though, because, like, you want to talk about these, the cards, they require each other to their full potential, right? So, like,
yeah.
there's this thing in your outline that fits here, where, like, you're looking for Baron and Estate together, or you look for Legionary and Gold together. And, like...
Or Encampment Gold, what have you.
Sure. When you're trying to line 2 cards up, that's when drawing cards is good, right?
Yeah.
That's why drawing cards is good, because you can line up your business. Overlord's situation is slightly different than that. Overlord likes those context-dependent cards where, like, it doesn't depend on maybe just one other card. It depends on, like, the situation you're in. So, like, if Overlord has multiple options, like, Overlord can be a cantrip, or Overlord can be a terminal silver card, or something that just gives you money if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Or Overlord can be a village if that's what you need, or a draw card if that's what you need. If you have multiple of these options available to you, and this is something that applies to Band of Misfits as well, that's when this card is going to be really strong, and the consistency it gives you, that's going to pay for the extra cost you spend to put the card in your deck initially.
Absolutely. So another conclusion we can draw from that is, of course, that Overlord is stronger in a kingdom that has a big variety of effects.
Right, and that variety, I think, terminal versus non-terminal,
yes,
money versus not money,
yeah,
and then just a variety, like you talked about, things that are strong early versus things that may be stronger later in the game. All of that stuff is going to point towards, hey, this is amazing for you.
I want to get out my little highlighter here and circle something that Adam said. One of the things that's super important there's an actual highlighter. I'm going to draw an Adam.
Do it.
One of the things that's super important here is that I'm not doing that. One of the things that is super important here with making Overlord viable to be worth it is that you really need more than one non-terminal action in the kingdom. So you need you need at least 2 piles, I think, of actions that Overlord can be played as that are not terminal. Why is that?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that I don't know. Maybe more than one isn't the distinction I'd make. I'm thinking like something that isn't spammable and is going to run out.
Yeah.
So like if Minion is there, like I'm not going to bank on playing Overlord as Minion. I'm not going to say,
you're going to run out. Yeah.
Right. And so then what's your Overlord going to do? You don't want to be in that situation where it's like, well, that pile's gone and now this card sucks.
Well, and the other thing is that it's not just the fact that you need to have options to play Overlord as that aren't terminal, but if there aren't those extra non-terminal options for Overlord, that means that other things are competing for your terminal space. Then you draw the Overlords that have to be terminal. And so you really need some options that aren't terminal to play Overlord as.
Sure. I guess if there's no village, then why are you buying Overlord when you could just buy the non-terminal itself, because that's what you're going to play it as. And if there is a village, then there are non-terminal options. So I guess you could frame it that way.
Or if there's a terminal. Yeah, sure. So, more of Adam chewing on Making Love.
Delicious.
A mastication podcast. So, Adam has alluded to the strength of Overlord really being in its versatility. The other thing that lights up in your mind, and we've kind of hit on this already, of whether or not you buy an Overlord, is that it kind of makes every single card that costs 5 or less accessible at any given time. provided that you are not in debt, right? Because you can always get an Overlord.
Sure.
And so that, again, comes up most clearly in the beginning of the game. So let's say there's a $5 card that you need to access really early. That's another place that Overlord is super strong.
Yeah. I would consider getting an Overlord on turn 2 in that case.
Yeah. I would buy Overlord if it cost 7.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between... that was good. That was really good.
Yeah.
And if it didn't cause me physical pain to laugh, I would be laughing at that.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between, hitting the price point of 7 and paying 7 in terms of debt, right?
Yeah. So let's say that's not true, though. Let's say that there are cards that you want to play early, but they don't cost 5 and you can just buy them. Or let's say that, those other circumstances Adam and I have talked about haven't aligned. That doesn't rule out that you ever buy an Overlord. It doesn't. But there is some things you ask yourself. And one of the questions that comes to mind is, if Overlord cost 8 money instead of 8 debt, would you still buy it? Now, remember, that situation is never going to occur, but what you're really asking yourself is, how valuable is that versatility? Is it worth the 8 money? Because you're kind of paying it over more than one turn if you're not just buying the card in question.
I guess. Sure.
Sure. Well, so, what that comes down to is, if you aren't being barred away from that crucial $5 price point early on, it just might not be worth paying the 8 whatevers for it, whether that's debt or coins or what have you.
Sure, yeah.
You could just buy the card instead.
I agree.
So we have kind of gone into some of the timing of Overlord when we talked about whether the aspect of it costing debt instead of money, and buying it on the opener. And so there is one other thing that you think about when you're opening Overlord.
Oreo candy bars?
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
But also just the amount of debt that you're going to be taking with you. So
Sure.
So like Overlord
He's
is
got different priorities, obviously.
the Overlord is really strong, a little bit stronger when you have your greater money hand in as your second one, right? So like opening 5-2 and then getting an Overlord is really strong, because you could buy a 5er and then you could buy the Overlord, and then it's kind of like you have 2 5ers if you want them.
It sounds amazing. Like, I'm getting a semi just thinking about it.
2-5 is a little, so that's on a 2-5 or a 5-2. But the 2-5 is a little more sad, right? Because then you could open with the 2 cost or the nothing and the Overlord, or you could,
Yeah, in that case, like,
Overlord.
why are you not just buying the 5er? Because,
Yeah.
like, what are you really gaining by having this Overlord? Like, you probably have some idea of what you're going to play it as, so just get the thing,
Yeah, so, just to recap here, things that Overlord is really good for are contextual effects, contextually powerful effects like trashing, junking, and accessing a $5 price point without having to hit 5.
Yeah. Oh, I meant to say Death card has a great synergy with Overlord, and I forgot. It does.
Because you can trash the Overlord?
Because you don't have to gain ruins.
Oh.
And also, you probably don't want to play Overlord as reserve cards.
Yeah, oh, okay, rules clarification.
Don't do that. I mean, you can,
if you
but
play-
you're not going to like what happens.
If you play Overlord as now it works as orange cards. If you play Overlord as like Wharf, let's say,
That's super right.
it does stay out and it acts like a Wharf.
All right. Well, that's about, I think, everything I had for the meat.
Yeah. So I think we covered Overlord and Royal Blacksmith pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a kingdom that has both of them in it, and we are going to try something a little different with reading the kingdom off this time. To save Adam's voice,
What are we doing?
we're going to take turns reading cards.
No, you're
so
just going to read the whole
I'm
thing.
going to read one, and then Adam's going to read one.
No,
and
you're
then
reading all of it.
Okay. All right, so the kingdom we're going to be playing over the next week is going to have Overlord, Royal Blacksmith, Transmute, Sheem, Farming Village, Sacrifice, Bandit Camp, Bridge Troll, Hunting Party, and Storyteller. The event we have that is available to buy is Expedition. Once more, for our audio-only listeners, the kingdom will consist of Overlord, Royal Blacksmith, Transmute, Scheme, Farming Village, Sacrifice, Bandit Camp, Bridge Troll, Hunting Party, Storyteller, and the event is Expedition.
Alright.
So you're opening Royal Blacksmith Potion, yeah?
Potion, then Royal Blacksmith.
Oh yeah, you have to do it that way.
Yeah, gotta be careful, man.
Yeah, and then you obviously want to get it, some schemes so that you can top deck the potion.
Yep.
But yeah, no. So what what we're doing here is probably
I think Bridge Troll's a really good card.
yeah. I think that beginning with the end, I think the goal is to have the Bridge Troll Mega Turn. I think that's pretty viable to get to a point where you have 5 Bridge Trolls in play, maybe 6 even.
55.
Yeah, 55. And then I don't think you're going to get to the point where you have 8 in play and provinces are free, but I don't think you need to do that. So, to that end, I think that the thinning is important, and the draw is important, and the plus action is important. So, Sacrifice is going to be really important to play early on.
Yep.
Now,
I'm going to open with that bad boy.
okay, so you could open with the Sacrifice. Do you open with the Overlord and intend to play it as Sacrifice, though?
That depends on a lot. So, if I have a 5-2, what am I getting with my 5-2?
I like Bandit Camp Overlord on a 5-2.
I'm not a big fan of Bandit Camp.
I think the economy is going to be big for picking up Bridge Trolls, and then the Overlord is something you just play as Sacrifice.
I'm considering Sacrifice Overlord on a 5-2.
So on a 4-3, I'm going Sacrifice Overlord, actually.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if any of these $5 options are better than just putting a second Sacrifice in the deck. Because really, like...
I think that the Bandit Camp's actually pretty good. Like, it's helping you, one, pay off the debt, which is good.
I just don't like opening with it, because, like, what does it do for you, that first shuffle? I would rather have something that... like, I don't like opening Hunting Party, and I don't like opening Bandit Camp. Bridge Troll is orange and it has issues. Storyteller's not great. Like, I don't know. I would rather just open double Sacrifice in the form of Sacrifice Overlord. I just have a hard time seeing how anything's better than that. Like, the Overlord can be other things later on, but, like, give me a second copy of that Saki and I'm happy.
Okay, let's think here.
Yeah.
So you could
the
also...
more I think about it, the more I'm happy with it. On a 5-2 or a 4-3, I'm opening Sacrifice Overlord.
Okay, and I'm not saying this is going to be good, is Sacrifice Expedition worth considering?
I mean, it's fine, but it doesn't seem nearly as good as Overlord.
I mean, honestly, and like if Overlord wasn't here, I'd say you open Sacrifice Scheme. So, yeah, I kind of like...
I'd probably get a silver.
I like the Scheme to play the Sacrifice more often.
The Scheme's probably okay, but I would still want to get a silver. So I have a shot at hitting 5 someday.
Yeah, so I think that we have both agreed that we want to get Sacrifice and Overlord into the deck. On a 5-2, I am still tempted to open with the Bandit Camp. I'm willing to be talked out of that.
Sweet. Let's just say I talked you out of that already.
All right.
I really like the Sacrifice thing.
I'm willing to be played out of that. I'm willing to lose doing that and see... No, I'm willing to win doing that is what I'm going to do.
Oh, yeah.
So, by the mid-game, of course, the goal is to be gaining and playing Bridge Trolls and getting the capacity and likelihood of doing that. So, obviously, that entails playing your Sacrifice as often as you can. I think the Hunting Party is pretty good for that. I think so. A lot of the time you're playing your Overlord as Hunting Party to get to your Sacrifice.
It's either that or Scheme, right?
Yeah. If you've got the Sacrifice in hand, you could play it as a Scheme. The other thing that you could be doing if you already have the plus action, or you could get the plus action from Bandit Camp, and then you answer the question for yourself: does Royal Blacksmith play here?
I mean, it draws a lot of cards. I'm having a hard time seeing a world where you don't get any of them.
So a possible replacement for that would be Storyteller. and I'm thinking about the mid game here, where you've got the bridge trolls into your deck, and you're looking to transition into a turn either where you get a bunch of bridge trolls at once, or where you play these bridge trolls that are in your deck and just win the game. And I think Storyteller's decent for that.
I'd feel a lot better about Storyteller if you had to put silvers in the deck. So, like, if I'm going to open with a 3-4, I would probably get either Silver Sacrifice or, like...
Oh, by the way, I'm not saying I'm buying a Storyteller. I'm saying I'm playing Overlord as Storyteller. I didn't mean to imply...
Sure.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, Storyteller just doesn't seem great for just cycling you past your coppers. Like, I want to increase my hand size with it. And that's only really going to happen here with treasures, it looks like, right?
Well, I'm assuming with the Storyteller, I'm assuming the presence either of some silvers or that you have previously in the turn played some spoils, or previously in the turn maybe you've played your sacrifice to thin a copper.
Sure, I guess.
Yeah, so in that case, setting up the mega turn, Storyteller is often a pretty decent vehicle of that. It might not be necessary, though. If you've got a surplus of actions and you've got the terminal space for it, maybe you've got a Royal Blacksmith in the deck, and that is just as good, if not better.
Sure. So there's 2 stacks of villages here, which means you should be able to play your Overlord as some kind of a village.
Yep.
Regardless.
And if not, you can at least do it as a hunting party.
Right, or Scheme, or any of the... There's non-terminal cantrip options here. So I feel like Overlord is great here. The fact that Royal Blacksmith draws 5 cards, even if it discards some coppers, like, really I just want to be playing 10,000 British Trolls. So, like, I really think Royal Blacksmith has a place in the deck. This is kind of awkward. Like, I remember a City Quarter game from forever ago when, like, you needed City Quarters, but you also needed actual money, because I think the payload was British Troll.
That was another bread kingdom that you're talking about.
Yeah, so, like, you're going to have some money in the deck that comes from some treasures.
Another reason I kind of like the Bandit camp.
So, like, I mean, yeah, you probably put some Bandit camps in the deck at some point, but, like, I really don't want to open with it.
Sure.
I just feel like you can do a lot better with a Sacrifice Overlord opening than shoving a Bandit camp in the deck on turn 1.
Sure, so let us know what you would do. We are as well assuming that the best route to victory here is the Bridge Troll Mega Turn.
Because it is.
And I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah.
But if you think differently, I do want to hear it, because we were wrong about the last one, right? Not the last one, but the one before it. Yeah. We were wrong about that by a lot. Yeah. So I want to hear about that.
Yeah. Do you think Transmute is any good here?
No.
Yep, me either. Good times.
Can I make Transmute work? I'm going to say no.
I mean, you can make it work.
I'm going to give that a resounding...
buy a potion, and then buy the Transmute, and then play the Transmute, and the Transmute worked.
Yeah. I'm going to give that a no, dog.
However, that's terrible, because
Yeah.
it's not nearly as good as anything else you could possibly do. And I think what you were going for is, yeah, that's going to be a no from me, dog.
Yeah, it's some American Idol reference.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's what we think about this kingdom. Let us know if you disagree with us in the comments.
Or if you agree, that's also fine.
Yeah. Let us know about your exploits when you've opened Bandit Camp, and it has been the right call.
Yeah. I just want you guys to know, I just finished the first Oreo candy bar. And so, like, if I want more...
Enter the raffle quickly.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Or you'll be getting a wrapper.
So you can have this one, too.
Sure. So, that's about all I got, yeah?
I hope that I'm not sick next week.
Yeah, I hope... I wonder if I'll be sick. I don't really care.
That would be inconvenient.
I mean...
But I haven't coughed on you or anything. I don't think I'm contagious at this point.
If I can not... if I can not go to work. Cut that part out.
That'll be pretty rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And remember, holler at us. Let us know what you guys think. We like hearing from you guys.
Yeah, definitely. On Making Luck.
A Dominion podcast.
See you next time.
Bye.